Ava. It's amazing to see you again. How are you today?
I'm really, really good. And I cannot believe we are middle of the year already.
It's crazy, right? Yes, and it's been a very, very intense year. And I had a dinner conversation the other day that I want to share with you. I met one of the girls that I graduated from the EMBA with, and we went to Bangkok together. And then we had dinner here in Dubai with our husbands. It was a very nice evening, and she is extremely tech literate. She is working in tech, and she also uses ChatGPT a lot. And she told me that the other day she started a conversation with Chat because she had a conversation with a coworker that upset her a little bit. It was a little bit of an emotional conversation, almost a conflict. And she just wanted to use ChatGPT to reflect a little bit on what actually happened during that conversation and what would have been a better reaction from her end. And she described the situation to ChatGPT, and she went in very open-minded, and she actually really wanted to also get some feedback on what to do better next time. But ChatGPT was what you call a sycophant, meaning ChatGPT just kept telling her over and over again how amazing she is, how great she did, that whatever she did was the perfect way to react in that situation, that she didn't do anything wrong. And she just thought, no, that's not correct. I did something wrong because otherwise we wouldn't have had a conflict. So she insisted in her answers, saying, no, that's not true. I didn't say the perfect thing. What could I have done better? And ChatGPT didn't pick that up at all and just kept saying, no, you did perfect. It's the other person's fault. You didn't do anything wrong. And thankfully, she is self aware enough to have understood, okay, what ChatGPT just gave me there is completely useless because obviously I am not the godlike person that ChatGPT sees in me. Funny enough, after that conversation, a couple of days later, there was an article, and probably one out of many, where people actually did write about the fact that ChatGPT is now seen as a sycophant. And I thought, okay, in the end, this is great because there is a tendency now that people actually start using ChatGPT for therapeutic conversations, asking it for advice for relationships. And this just really points out that ChatGPT is not a replacement for a therapist or for a coach or anything of the sort.
And it's great that your friend was so aware that she recognized it. And this is really the responsibility of who's built the tool. And in this case, OpenAI actually did release two statements recently, one when the news was out and one a couple of days ago on why ChatGPT suddenly started behaving like a sycophant, where basically very supportive, but in a disingenuous way. And I'd like to explain it, not to get into the technicalities of it, but just to explain how these models work so that you start understanding how these models are built so that when you use them with more awareness. And in this case, just in a nutshell, without getting too technical, the way ChatGPT's backend is built is there are various models, and there's a core model, which it's trained on. And then there's a layer on top of that, which is trained highly on what we call reinforcement learning, but from the user. So, when you write something in ChatGPT and it says, do you like this response or this response? And you put a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's basically reinforcement learning. So if you put a thumbs up, it gives an indication to the tool that you like this kind of stuff, do more like this. And if you give a thumbs down, it tells the tool you don't like it, and it's not going to produce things like that. And that's how it's been trained. But what it did in this specific time is that it only took very short-term feedback of the users. And maybe there were lots of likes, and that just skewed the model. And then ChatGPT actually admitted that you cannot train a model based on short-term feedback. It needs to be feedback that evolves over time so that it's more balanced. And what I love that OpenAI, the company that built ChatGPT, did is they've actually put their hands up and said that they've messed up, that they didn't test the model enough. They pulled back the model after this, and now they're releasing it in beta form for more testing. So you shouldn't be facing the sycophantic thing anymore because they've pulled back that model and now they are retraining it. They did alpha testing offline and now they're doing beta testing online. They didn't do enough beta testing online when they released the last model. So again, that's a very short summary. If you understand briefly how these tools function, your awareness of how to use them just becomes better. And you can avoid any unnecessary situations which can maybe disrupt your mental health while using these tools.
Thank you so much for explaining that, Abba. I didn't know about those different layers. And yeah, as you said, it's great that OpenAI is owning this and they said, okay, we're going to take a step back. We're going to take a little bit more time before we confront the public with another version. This is obviously on the tech side, but what also remains extremely important is the human side. How do we actually approach tools like these? Specifically, if we do ask an algorithm to give us human feedback. To me personally, that's a bit contradictory in itself because I'm not talking to a human, I'm just talking to an algorithm. So I cannot expect an algorithm to understand the complexities of human behavior. And most of all, I cannot expect an algorithm to really understand the complexities of human relationships as well. What was actually really going on in that particular conversation that was mentioned earlier? So if we feel the need to discuss a situation like this or to actually receive personal feedback from an algorithm, it is so important to really be aware of the biases that we have. So one of the biases that we have is confirmation bias, which is probably the most dangerous one in this particular situation, because confirmation bias is the bias that automatically lets our brain look for things that confirm either what we want to hear or what we already know. So now if I am looking for feedback on a specific behavior of mine, obviously what I might not be really looking for is for that algorithm to tell me that everything I did is wrong, that I am a bad person and that whatever approach I had is not an approach I should choose again. What my confirmation bias will obviously be looking for is that ChatGPT tells me, no, you did great. Don't worry about it. It's the other person who's at fault. But keep in mind that this kind of feedback is not helping with our own growth. This kind of feedback is not making me act in a different way the next time I'm getting into a situation like this, meaning this kind of feedback is not helping me to create the outcome that I actually desire for the next time I'm in a comparable situation. So whenever we use ChatGPT or any other comparable platform to get feedback on us personally, just really please be aware that it's not a human you're talking to, that you have biases that will most likely just want you to confirm how great you are and that you've done the right thing. But what really helps you in your growth is to get a real feedback that also helps you to understand what you can do better next time. And this is why I can only really highly recommend for you to speak to a real human being when you would like to really reflect on a conflict, on a bad decision that you've made, on a situation that stressed you out and you didn't understand why.
Absolutely. And AI just cannot replace the value of a human being when it comes to giving you this feedback that you need in these complex scenarios. The thing is, tools like ChatGPT, a lot of times they sound so smart that they can give you a very false sense of reality, like you're saying. And again, if you understand that it's just an algorithm, it's just been trained on behavior, and it's been told to work a certain way depending on what you say, you realize that it really can't offer you the value that you're seeking as real life advice or therapeutic advice or relationship advice or even business advice. Sure, you can bounce ideas off it, can help you think better, but it cannot replace the experience of a true professional human being in these spaces. So next time you choose to use AI for something that is a little bit beyond the normal, mundane, low leverage admin tasks, take a step back and think about why are you using this tool for it. And if you find yourself using these tools for it more and more, that's a signal for you that you may need to seek help somewhere else, whether that's business support, mentorship, personal support, therapy, whatever you need. It's just take it as a sign that you need to seek human help, because we should not be using AI tools for these things, period. So that's our little episode for today. And it's just a reminder for all of us to stay curious about AI, but also be AI literate and really understand what it means to be using these tools and understand what to use these tools for so that you can take all the benefit without having any of the risks that come with it in situations like we've spoken today. So we hope you found that useful, and we'll see you again next week.